Hello, welcome to the Book Drop Extended Edition. I'm still Matthew Kuchenda, and you're probably here for the full interview. Roll it. So January is Braille Literacy Month, and I'm here to talk about Braille with my two lovely guests.
Thanks for having us, Matt. We greatly appreciate it. My name's Lori Berkey, and I work at the Marlborough Public Library with Matt.
And I'm Mary Haroyan, and from Worcester. I am blind and am very happy to talk about Braille, as it's pretty much a part of my daily life.
Oh, lovely. So how could you explain Braille to someone who doesn't really know much about it?
Well, Braille is a system of codes that have raised dots, and so people who are blind and visually impaired are able to use their fingertips on the dots and be able to read and write, and it helps people to access literacy, and enhances people's lives in their everyday lives, enhances career opportunities. Helped us get to the studio today with the markings on the elevator so that the Braille we could get up to floor 2, and so it's something that's really helpful for folks to be literate and be out in the world. And
Yeah, it's pretty essential. It's really comparable to children needing to learn print.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same for children or adults who aren't able to read print, but to be able to have the chance to learn Braille. Yes.
Now, I've heard in addition to more traditional literature, you can also read stuff like music with Braille. Is that true?
Yes, actually, it's a real specialty. But yes, music is available in Braille. I know through the Library of Congress, they have, I think, some of the largest collection of Braille music in the world, and absolutely yes, as well as math as well. There's Braille is also used to be able to help students going into the sciences to be able to access all that study as well. Special code in still Braille, but representing math symbols and scientific symbols.
Oh, wow. So even if I was visually impaired, I could also be bad at math. That's amazing.
That always,
Yeah.
right.
So how has Braille personally affected your lives?
well, I'll start as someone who's I'm not visually impaired myself, but I have had the good fortune of being able to have some great friends who are blind, and I've also worked in the capacity of serving people who are blind in different places in my work life. In one role, I was the assistant for a professor at a college who was blind, and he, just being able to see him independently be able to conduct his lectures, he had a refreshable Braille display where he could record his lectures, and he could sit and run his fingers across that and deliver his lectures to the class. He could pause it and interact with questions and pick it up again. He could keep track of all of his different students' papers and files by using a Brailler, which is like a typewriter, sort of a machine that enabled him to make labels of all of the different files for different classes that he had, and to have his student name list, and to be able to really fully function, getting up again to the elevator, knowing what floor we're on, knowing as we're going down the hall, there's different room numbers. So just whereas somebody who, is reading print material would see there's room 102, there's a 102 that if someone's not literate to be able to read the 102 or to feel it, being literate is something that just helps you in so many areas of your life, just getting around, communicating, enjoying a good book, and music and all around. It's just an essential part of life.
Amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's, I learned Braille later in my life because I had been able to read. I mean, I've been blind all my life, but I was always able to read some form of print, large print. And then as that diminished as I grew older, I knew I needed to do something. So I started learning Braille. And so, just being able to have things at your fingertips in Braille, jot down a phone number in Braille, have important phone numbers, count numbers in Braille, if you go to a restaurant and they have menus in Braille, being able to read the menu. Get your credit card statements in Braille. Anything that you can think of that you would read in print can hopefully be converted into Braille. So
If I wish I could read Braille so that I could read your necklace, you look like you have some Braille on your.
and Braille jewelry as well. Yes, I have this necklace which says adventure. So if you hold it horizontally, it reads adventure, letter by letter. So yeah, this was at my last work site. They gave this to me when I left my job. So yeah, there's lots of Braille jewelry. Yes, out there. But
That's so awesome. I never would have thought of something like that, but it's so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how exactly did you go about learning Braille, and how do most people know about it?
For me, because I learned it later in life, or I wasn't, learning it in school. So I took a correspondence course through a wonderful place called the Hadley Institute, which is for people who are blind and visually impaired. They have an array of courses, and they have these wonderful, really structured Braille courses to start at the very beginning. The most basic part of learning Braille is keeping track of the lines, going across lines. So I started with that, and then I started learning the letters, and then worked my way up from there. And it was just really amazing as you see the your achievement. Yes, you're starting to recognize letters through your sense of touch. It's really amazing. So I learned it through the Hadley School. So, I had the time and to be able to practice with it, because you really need to use it every day, practice with it every day, because it's not, doesn't come naturally and easily, especially the older you get. But for children who are, visually impaired or blind, they learn it hopefully in school as they need to. And they have to have Braille instruction every day, whether they're going to public school or a blind school. Just like sighted children have to learn print that way.
Yeah, it seems like accessibility to Braille and learning about it is so important. Would you agree?
Oh, that completely. And it can be a struggle in some school systems and some places where people may not think Braille is that important, because we are in an age of technology with a lot of audio and electronic medium. But Braille is still as essential today as it ever was, just like learning print.
Now, I've heard that you've done some work for accessibility dealing with Braille and the visually impaired community.
Sure. Well, I'm a member of the Bay State Council of the Blind, and we are the Massachusetts affiliate of the American Council of the Blind. And we're a membership organization, so involved with a lot of advocacy and on an array of initiatives, both on the federal level and in the state level. So anything that involves enhancing access, whether in healthcare, transportation, education, very important, obviously. So it's been a lot of focus on, education and making sure that, let's say, Braille instruction is available for students who would be considered special needs, and they're getting it the way they need to in school, So our organization has always been, at the forefront of making sure that at least that legislation is always being pushed forward. It's not always success, but we're keeping it on, the agenda for legislators. So it's a lot of advocacy around that. And then
Did you mention that there was also some advocacy about accessibility for voting?
Oh, well, voting, yes. That's been huge. Yeah, voting. Here in Massachusetts, we're very fortunate. We have a really, it's called accessible vote by mail. So now for blind and visually impaired voters, have the ability to be able to fill out and actually submit their voting ballot electronically, completely accessible, using either a smartphone or your computer. So if you don't want to go to the polling sites, you can do this through your computer or iPhone completely independently and privately, because it's not always been that way.
I'm sure, yeah.
Not always been that way, but Massachusetts has been in the forefront of that, and making sure that voting rights are always at the forefront. Yes.
I mean, everyone deserves to have the right to vote. So that's something that's so important.
Yeah, privately and independently, because so often people who are blind had to rely on somebody else to fill out their ballots. You know, but we've come a long way from that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
No.
So who do you think should learn Braille?
Well, anyone who could potentially need it, which is really not. But I mean, like for myself, you know, I knew I had to do something, or else I was not going to be able to read anymore. So for someone like me, learning it later in life, and luckily I knew people who read Braille all their life, and I was, you know, inspired to do that. And I knew how to go about accessing the course through the Hadley School to do that. So that's an example. Children who are, you know, struggling to read print while they're in school, it might even lose more vision. They have to be given that opportunity to read Braille, learn Braille every day. I mean, it has to be in their daily curriculum every day. It can't just be, oh, you know, you're going to have it twice a week or something. It has to be an essential part of their learning, or else, you know, it's going to affect their ongoing learning if they don't have the knowledge of Braille, you know. So for sure there. And but, you know, for anyone older who thinks that it could help them in some way to, you know, so that they can maybe label something at home in Braille, that they can keep some phone numbers in Braille, whatever it might be. Even if they just learn the basics, it could really be so essential. So I would recommend it for people in that, you know, situation as well.
That's so interesting. You mentioned at the end writing phone numbers in Braille. How do you write Braille exactly?
Well, I have a Braille writer, which you know, Lori had mentioned something's called kind of like a Braille typewriter. So you put just a, you know, sheet of paper in it. Now Braille paper is generally a little more durable than regular typewriter paper. So you put it in, and then the keyboard is just the 6 cells, which is what Braille is. And then you type the letters you need to type, pressing down, and you create your Braille. And then you take the paper out, or you can create labels in it as well. And then you have it. And it's there for your records, you know.
You had mentioned that that's helpful for you with kind of organizing your closet and your clothes and some things.
Doing labeling, yep. You know, if you will label. I have a little something called a Braille labeler that you can put like Dymo tape in and punch, you know, Braille letters on, you know, something like that. But back in the day, I know I've heard people talk about how they used to have pen pals and they wrote to each other using Braille. And they used the Braille writer, this Braille typewriter, which was invented at the Perkins School for the blind more than 50 years ago. And the device has not changed at all because it's so durable. It never needs to be replaced, just leaned a little. It's just really amazing.
I heard some people even organize their food in the freezer by having some labels on
when they're organizing anything, they have their own organizational system, and they label with Braille. Absolutely. So Braille is used for you know, used for anything. Yes, but in terms of writing, yes, I use the Braille writer predominantly for writing. Yeah.
That's amazing. This is a little bit different than what I've been asking. I'm just kind of curious about this. What is the correct term for talking about the visually impaired blind community? Is there one term that's more preferred?
No, because even within the community, there's going to be debate on that.
Of course.
First of all, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the word blind. I'm blind, you know. I mean, there's a term legal blindness, which is sort of a medical term, that if your vision falls within a certain range of loss, then you're considered legally blind. And then there's people will say that they've been, you know, totally blind, so that indicating that they don't have any vision. Some people prefer the term visually impaired. Some don't. Some people but the word blind is perfectly fine to use if you have that level of vision, So low vision is another term which describes people who have some good functional vision still, but are more than just, oh, I need glasses because I'm nearsighted, and beyond that. But they might still be able to function getting around without using a white cane, but they might need really high-powered magnification to read. There's just so many different degrees of vision loss, and so low vision is another term that you might hear. I'm certainly not low vision. I mean, when I was younger, I guess I would have been more that way, but in that category. But now I identify as a blind person. Yeah.
That makes sense. That's just something I've heard both terms used pretty frequently, so I was just curious at what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I see that you have a Braille book for us to read a little bit.
Yes. Good Night Moon, which my good friend Lori got from the library. And it's funny, I never remembered having this read to me when I was a kid. So, so I was looking through it. It's just the sweetest book. So, and it's the example of a print Braille book, correct?
Yes, that's right. Yes, both in printing.
Yeah, so many books are made that way so that if it's a blind parent reading to their sighted child or a sighted parent reading to their blind child, they can do that, learn and do that together. So it's Good Night Moon, and let me just get to first page here. So I'll just read a couple pages. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon and a cow, and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon. And there were 3 little bears sitting on chairs. And 2 little kittens and a pair of mittens. And then I'll read this last page. And a little toy house and a young mouse. But that's not the whole rest of the book. No.
You got to tell me how it ends.
Say how it ends. But okay, let's see. Let's just jump ahead.
Or there's another way we could keep people on suspense and people can find out where they can get that book.
Tell me, please.
Well, thankfully, there's ways for people to get books both in print, in audio format, and in Braille. Like Barry said, sometimes there's ones that have print and Braille so that a sighted person and someone who reads Braille can read together and enjoy it together. But the library, through the Marlborough Public Library, we have a great interlibrary loan system where we're able to order materials for people. So even when if your own public library may not have a gigantic collection or a collection of Braille materials, the library itself is a place to come to be able to access that, because the library can do reciprocal interlibrary loan learning. And that's for an occasional piece like this. We were looking for this book and it was available. If it wasn't and somebody's looking to read everything in Braille on an ongoing basis, there are some fantastic library services that are open to anybody who is legally blind or print disabled or needs somebody in need of being able to access Braille. One way in Massachusetts that people can do it is actually nationally is the Perkins School for the Blind, and they have a library there specifically where they can mail people books and get them to them, as well as audio materials, and also the Worcester Talking Book Library, which is part of the Worcester Public Library system. They also have a way to sign up on a regular basis. People who get their materials regularly from the library can also get just as many, basically access to any book that's available in Braille through those avenues.
Yeah, it's a Braille, the Perkins Braille and Talking Book Library, and and as Laurie said, the Worcester Talking Book Library, which is a sub-regional branch of the Braille and Talking Book Library, but it's recorded material as well as Braille books in large print too, can be gotten. You just have to sign up for the service, sign up indicating that you have any kind of print disability. And it's not just for people who are blind. You could have dyslexia or have for people with a physical disability who can't physically hold a book. They might be able to really benefit from being able to listen to the audiobooks.
What about the National Library Service?
That's all through. Yeah, there's the National Library Services for they've changed the name recently. It's still the National Library Services for people who are, for people with have a print disability. I forget the new name now. It used to be National Library Services for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, but that is now a changed name. But yes, through the National Library Services, these libraries are, accredited. So like Perkins and Worcester are Massachusetts and New England affiliates for providing the audiobooks as well as the Braille in large print. Yes. And there's companies that publish the Braille books. Like there's a company called Seedlings, which I think might have done this book. They do print and Braille together, and a lot of children's books, So once again, it's ways of encouraging children to learn Braille or having their blind parent be able to read to them, The National Braille Press, which is really well-known publishing company out of Boston. They provide an array of books in Braille, from educational material to, poetry to how-to books, also, cookbooks, things like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's something you really don't think about a lot as someone who's sighted. Like
No.
you kind of take for granted a lot of this stuff, but it's amazing that there's work being done for it.
Yeah, there's Braille out there, yeah, and of course, being able to, and now with technology the way it is, a lot of books, especially for people who have refreshable Braille displays, as Lori mentioned, and now the library actually offers them to patrons. They have their own refreshable Braille displays, so that you can download books from their inventory, from the library's inventory. But when you download the book, you download it into your refreshable Braille display, and you can then read the book in Braille. So you don't have to have the book sent to you in the mail, volume.
Yeah.
It's all electronic. Download it into your Braille display, and you can then read your book in Braille.
I do want to ask this because I do sound at a church, and one of the ladies in the worship band, she's blind as well, and she has, I think it's like a pocket book that has Braille that pops up on it, and that's how she reads some of the lyrics and stuff. Is that a refreshable?
It sounds like that could be it. Yes. If it's got Braille popping up on it, yes. And then it would you read one line and then she goes to the next line or whatever it might be. That sounds like that's what it could be. Yeah. Yeah. I myself never used a refreshable Braille display because I didn't, I learned Braille later in life, and I never really went the route of that particular technology. But but it sounds like that's what it could be. Or something like it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just curious.
Yeah,
That's very
yeah.
cool. The list of resources, right? I mean, we did kind of go through that in that last podcast.
Yes, we did cover some of that. There was a few more.
Yeah.
It looks like you had talked about the American Council for the Blind, which you for your advocacy efforts. There's another organization, the American Foundation for the Blind, that also does some advocacy related to Braille. You mentioned the Braille Authority of North America, I believe.
Yeah. The Braille Authority of North America is an advocacy organization, and they sort of also oversee the really finer points of Braille, standardizing it, making sure it's being taught properly, and overseeing the code basically within the North American region. So those would be more in the English-speaking, sort of Braille. Because Braille is actually used in all languages. It's been it's used. So there's English Braille. There's Braille that's used throughout Europe, Africa. I mean, it's learned
Yeah.
and just converted into the particular language of the country. Yeah.
Yeah, I read it was like translated into 133 languages, I believe.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It is. Louis Braille really was a genius.
Yeah.
He really was. Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading into his life. It's amazing to create something like that, especially with how, because if I remember correctly, the previous system was like, I think 9 dots, I believe, and he what's the word I'm looking for? He collapsed it into only 6.
Right. And it's something that would, take up as little space as possible.
Yeah.
That was always a major obstacle with Braille or some kind of raised tactile code because it took up so much space. I mean, Braille still does take up more space than print. Even when it's contracted, it just does. But some of the other forms of tactile code that had been used took up much more space and weren't as easily learned. So you have this system of 6 dots that can be, represent every letter, word, punctuation mark, musical notes, scientific code. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah. Truly it is.
I had one, a couple more here. One that was the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, offered some different learning opportunities for Braille as well. And then we're going to have the sheet that is showing some of the organizations with phone numbers for how to contact the Perkins School for the Blind to be able to access print Braille materials, and also the Worcester Talking Book Library to be able to sign up for regular book Braille deliveries once you're enrolled in that.
Was there anything else that you wanted to hit upon? I think we got to everything, I believe.
Well, again, we really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Braille is such an essential part of literacy. So having a library program and bringing about the literacy of how essential Braille is to literacy is really fantastic, and how the library can be a source for folks of everybody reading.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for, the opportunity to, acknowledge Braille and the importance of it. And on a personal level, gave me the chance to read Goodnight Moon.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out at the library when I go back. I haven't read it yet, so.
Very, very sweet. But thank you so much for your attention and sort of acknowledgement of the importance of Braille.
Of course, yeah. Thank you both so much for coming. This is so informational. It was really fun to get to talk about it too. So that was the full interview. It was so rewarding to do. It was amazing to talk to them. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my beard a little bit. That was fun. And all of the resources that they mentioned at the end will be in the link in the description. So once again, hope to see you at the library.